Today I am back with my audiobook series of my story. This is Chapter 5, Act 2. Once again, I do not claim any of the original things as my own. Only the storyline changes that happen are my own. But everything from here on out in this chapter is my ideas. And some other ideas from some of the mods for Angels with Scaly Wings. Anyways, let's begin. When Nick opened his eyes, he was back in the hospital bed. Then he looked up and saw Maverick with a police dog tag on and said in a panic, "Maverick, did they divert it?" Then Maverick said, "Nick, calm down. Yes, they diverted it, so there's no reason to worry about any oversized space pebbles or ice falling from the sky anytime soon." Oh, thank God, I was worried for a second. Then Nick got sat up and looked around and saw on a makeshift table next to the bed was his focus, his gun, and a few notes. But what surprised him most was the picture of him and his family. Then Nick asked, "Hey, how did this get here? I thought I left it in front of the portal in the human world. How long was I out for?" Then Maverick said, "Oh yeah, you've been out for 3 weeks. I forgot to mention that." "Oh, and that's a long story. Why don't we take a walk and I'll tell you." While Nick and Maverick were walking, Maverick told Nick that after he fell into a coma for an unknown reason, his ship somehow used the coordinates to the human world with some help from Izumi to jump into their world, where they then evacuated the city and located the wreck of a New Mordor space naval vessel Maverick. The people of the city were moved into New Midorian space, and then they turned their attention to the wreck itself. Then Nick learned that today was the day the ship would be towed into the Dragon's world and taken to a shipyard back in the universe of Stranger Things. Then Nick and Maverick ran into Ushio and Izumi, who was not wearing her mask anymore, who were coming to see how he was doing. Then they saw him, and Izumi said, "Oh, you're awake. We're just coming to see you, but I guess we did it at the right time." Then Nick asked, "So, what have you guys been up to? Also, where's Bryce at?" Venushi said, "We have been helping the dragons with the data on the PDAs, and Bryce is still on his shift." Then a loud rumbling sound interrupted Nick as he was about to speak, and suddenly everyone looked out out the large pane glass window facing the hill the portal was on in the hallway, and Nick saw a greenish blue portal appear in the sky. Then two Maverick-class dreadnoughts emerged, carrying the wreck of their fallen twin, the new Mordor space naval vessel Maverick. Nick could see on the underside where there were pieces of the hull missing from when it crashed. Then the ships went higher into the atmosphere. Then Maverick said, "I still can't believe something that large and heavy can fly in atmosphere, mind you, without crashing on its own. How the hell did you manage to design that thing?" "Lots of years of trial and AI simulation, Mavers," Nick replied. "Also, that's what she said. You better get used to me saying that, because I will do that if you say something I can make that joke to," Nick said after a few more seconds. After a few more minutes in conversation, Izumi and Ushio left. Nick was checked up on by both New Midorian medics and the hospital workers. Nick was free to leave. When Nick was about to start walking home, Maverick stopped him and said, I think you shouldn't be walking that far yet. You could just ride on my back. You know what? You're right. I don't think I'm at my full capacity right now. Also, I know you're gonna say that a lot differently than you remembered what I said a few minutes ago about what would happen if you say something like that. Oh, and one more thing. No nosediving this time. I know I'm immortal, but I could still feel pain, and I'd rather not fall, Nick replied. Nick and Maverick flew back to Maverick's house across town, and once they got home, Maverick asked, "Tomorrow, do you want to go ask Bryce about joining the police force now?" "Yes, that's a good idea. I was thinking." Nick was interrupted by a knock at the door. When Nick opened the door, he was met by one of his soldiers carrying a box and the soldier said, "Sir, we were told to give this to you. If you don't remember, we were working on a prototype suit for the Special Forces units, and now it's in full production. Also, we will be leaving this universe, but we will keep an eye out for your original universe and contact you if we find anything. Also, if you need anything from out of universe, contact us and we will have it delivered." "Thanks, and I wish you all a safe journey. But as your leader, I will request that my plane is brought down before you jump out." Then Nick shut the door and the soldier walked back to the dropship that had landed. Then it took off. Then Nick took the box into the living room. When Nick entered the room, Maverick asked him, "Who was it, Nick?" "It was one of my soldiers just delivering something for me. From what he said, it's something that's going to be really useful for traveling around here," Nick replied. "Hey, there's a note on the side of the box," Maverick said, noticing a note on the side of the box. Nick set the box down on a table and read the note. "Hey Nick, if you get this, just consider this a housewarming gift. Or should I say universe warming gift, as you are now a citizen there. Anyways, I might try to visit if I can. Don't have too much fun with Maverick. Winky face. And remember, you can always maybe visit and bring your boyfriend along. Also, good job with that Reza guy. See you some other time from HC." Then below the note there was a stamp that indicated what universe the package was from, and the symbol he saw was that of the Mind Flare with the Eye of New Mordor above it, showing it was from the World of Stranger Things. And Nick said to himself, "Okay, Henry, I get it. I'm assuming you sent me this so I'd have an easier time getting around, considering everyone else has wings and I don't." Then Nick opened the box to see a black full black bodysuit with hard but light and flexible nanofiber in between the arms, torso, and legs, and a large device you put around your torso by putting it over your head. And this device was a mini ion engine. Then Maverick asked Nick, "What is this thing?" "You'll see tomorrow when I test it, but just saying this tomorrow, you're going to be surprised by this," Nick replied. 4 hours later, it was time for dinner, and Nick and Maverick had decided on pizza. And after that, they sat down and watched a movie. Hey, I don't know, just think of Indiana Jones, but with dragons instead of humans or something, okay? Like, maybe it's like a movie adaptation of like the Sheridan series. After this, they went to sleep, and Nick once again cuddled up to Maverick, cuddled up next to Maverick again. But this time, he was no longer worried about Reza or a giant space rock. Nick was thinking about what would happen tomorrow, when Maverick broke the silence and said, "So, Nick, how does it feel to be home for good?" Well, it feels good to know that now I belong somewhere, but it can never replace what I lost. But now I could take it more easy on myself, Nick replied. Finn Maverick said, well, I guess I'll see you when we wake up. Good night. Then, a few minutes later, Maverick was asleep, while Nick waited for himself to fall asleep. Then Nick noticed something he forgot about these dragons. As he felt warmth radiating from Maverick's scales. Then he focused on Maverick's soft breathing and slowly drifted into sleep. The next day, late into the morning, Nick woke up and saw he had slept in and Maverick had gone off to work. Nick made himself some breakfast and put on the suit he had gotten yesterday and put it on the chest-mounted engine housing. Then he went outside and activated the device. Then he spread his legs and arms out, revealing the fabric in between his legs and arms created something akin to wings, and with a roar of the small ion engine took to the skies under his own devices, and flew towards the police station. When all of a sudden, a gray blur went flying past his right wing, and he saw it slow down to a speed. Then he saw it was Maverick. Then Nick went next to Maverick. Then he flew upwards, then slowly and carefully in midair landed on his back. When Nick was fully attached to Maverick's back, Maverick said, fancy seeing you here like this here, babe. So, I see you can fly now with that, what's it called? It's called a wingsuit. And I think we're going to the same place, right? No, we aren't, but I must say, damn humans are creative at developing ways to travel. I was not expecting to see a human flying without being in a plane or on someone's back. Maverick said. Well, Maverick, I have about 50 more tricks up my sleeves. Also, I'll talk to you later. I see my destination, Nick said. Okay, bye. Hope you and Bryce can work something out, and I'll see you later, Maverick said. Then Nick let go of Maverick and used the airflow to quickly launch himself into the sky off of Maverick's back. Then he flew to the ground at the police station and positioned his legs for landing and used his arms as air brakes. As Bryce walked out of the police station, he saw Nick slow down and land with a few steps of unstable running after touching the ground. Then Nick walked up to him, and said, "Hey, Bryce. Oh, what's wrong? Looks like you saw a flying human or something." Then Bryce said, "Good morning, Nick. You know, at this point, I shouldn't be surprised by this, considering the past few weeks. So, how you feeling?" I feel like I'm back to normal. Well, as as I could be when I'm beating a dragon, and the fact that this is my home now. But anyways, I've come here to ask if I could get a job at the department, Nick replied. Sure, you can get a job here. Having two humans can help, and training you will be a lot easier because you already have some experience considering what I heard from Maverick and what I've observed during the Resin incident. Good job with that, by the way. It's unfortunate you had to kill him to make him stop. And don't tell him I said this, but when you collapsed on the ground and fell into a coma, Maverick was panicking and wouldn't leave you there until your people agreed to take you to our hospital instead of one of the ships. I would think, Bryce said, I would think he would do that. After all, he didn't want to lose anyone else he knew, because he thought they might not let me come back here. Well, Well, Bryce, I'll see you later. Just call me when you have the time to get me into the forest or your schedule or something. Then Nick took off. After saying this, Nick decided he'd fly around town for a bit. Then go to the orphanage and see if he could volunteer. While flying around over Tatsu Park, he saw the scorched area where the dropship that crashed 3 weeks ago, weeks earlier, when all of a sudden he heard a familiar female voice behind him say, "Hey, human, wait up!" Nick turned his head around and saw a Dean, the waitress from the cafe from his first day, move over to his left as he slowed himself down to her speed. He noticed that she had goggles over her eyes, and around her neck was a delivery bag. Then he asked her, "If I remember correctly, your name's Dean, right?" "Yes, I see you remember me. Also, you must be Nick, correct?" Dean said. "Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Do you require my assistance or something?" Nick asked. "No, I just want to tell you if you're that. No, I just want to tell you that if you're looking for something to do, you could volunteer at the orphanage. They're always looking for more people, and I would recommend you get goggles so dust and other things don't get into your eyes," Dean said. I was thinking about doing that today anyways, Nick said. "Oh, really?" Dean replied. "Yeah, I think they need someone who knows how those poor children feel." After a few more minutes of talking and getting to know each other, and Nick telling her how he ended up in the situation to begin with, Dean left to do more deliveries, and Nick went to volunteer at the orphanage. After that, he had one more thing to check off his to-do list. When he went back home and grabbed a single vial of cancer cure the humans of this universe had before everything went to hell, that he stole from the hospital in the city before stepping through the portal. There was one character he meant to go see during the Reza case, but never had time to do so. This character's name was Anna, and she was responsible for trying to develop a cure for cancer. Well, really, she was just doing it illegally, but we don't talk about that. Okay, we don't talk about that. Okay, anyways, back to the story. But then, in a twist of fate, she got cancer herself, and now Nick was here to fix that problem. Nick flew as fast as he could to the production facility, because for this, every second mattered. And when he got there, he raced down the halls to her lab. When Nick got to the lab's door, he knocked. And a few seconds later, a red runner dragon with blue stripes opened the door and said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you of all people, Nick. So, how may I be of service to a human of such high status?" Anna said, "Well, what?" When Nick entered the room, then Nick said, "No, Anna, you have it the other way around. I'm here to help you. I know you have cancer, and I have one vial of the human cure I stole from the hospital." Anna interrupted, Nick had said, "Oh, how noble of you. But I no longer have cancer, thanks to Ushio and the other human. And they convinced the ministry not to send me to jail because of my research methods." Then Nick said, Well, Ushio was for once one step ahead of me." Then Anna retorted with, "Well, being in a coma for 3 weeks doesn't help. Either way, you could still help me by letting me run some tests on you. We would just have to fit it into my time frame." "Yeah, sure, just call me with this. You'll probably have an easier time using it since you have hands," Nick replied while handing her a focus. And Anna took it and put it on where she saw Nick had his on. Then she said, "Well, Nick, I guess I'll be seeing you at some point soon. As you can tell, I have some science work to get to. Well, it was nice meeting you, but I guess I can have it shipped to New Midorian space. But I guess I'll see you around, Nick said. After saying that, Nick left and Finn called for a dropship to take the sample of cancer cure back to New Midorian space. Vinny checked the time after they left. It was 12:43 p.m. So Nick decided he would grab lunch and go home and take a nap. Nicholas woke up by Maverick saying, "Okay, sleepyhead, get your cute little face up before I come over there and rob you of your water." Then Nick, groggy from sleep, said, "No, my massive dihydrogen monoxide molecules, you gray massive scales." Then Maverick replied by saying, "Okay, you nerd, what school did you graduate from?" Then there was an awkward pause, and Nick said, while getting up, "Yeah, about that. I kind of never got to do that because, well, you know why." Then Maverick said, "Oh, I forgot to ask last night, what the hell happened to your left arm?" Then Nick said, "Great way to change the subjects." Oh, and let me tell you about that. So, in fifth, this is actually a true story about me, by the way. In fifth grade, I was running down a hill, broke my arm. Then they had to put pins in it to keep the bones from moving while it healed, and they had to pull the pins out after a while, and those are the scars from that. Then Nick walked over to Maverick and said, "Oh, and I noticed you're pointing in the front yard. Why do you even need it here?" Then Nick said, "What if I can't carry everything from the store on my own? It has storage capacity for that type of stuff." Then Maverick said, "You know what? I didn't think of that. That's a good idea, Nick. Also, I think he forgot something." Nick looked around and vented himself, and remembered he had went to sleep in his underwear for the first time in a long time due to the fact he had to be ready whenever something happened. But now he had nothing to rush or panic about. Then Nick replied with, "Hey, god damn it, why does it do this shit, man? Hey, if I wanted to, I could just walk into a restaurant here of only this, and nobody would bat an eye because you guys don't really have the context of the clothing. Yes, you guys do have some clothing, but that's for like labs or uniforms, stuff like that." Yeah, well, I better get used to seeing you like this. Right now, it feels weird seeing you without that amount of clothes. And I can also see why you guys do that. You look like you would freeze without them in the winter, because you don't have all that hair. Maverick said, I think that's their original purpose, if I remember correctly. Then it just became like a social standard. Now I'm just going to go to the other room and get dressed, Nick said as he walked out of the room with his clothes. Nick decided to put on an outfit that was more fitting for the climate. Instead of ambassador clothing, he went into the living room and sat down on the couch next to Maverick and said, "And watched a random TV show for a few hours until the time was 5:20 p.m. when they decided he would make dinner," and asked Maverick, "So, what do we have to make food here? For food here? Why don't we go check?" Maverick replied. Nick and Maverick went into the kitchen and found macaroni and cheese and ground mouflon. And that the next day, they needed to go to the store for some things. Then Nick said to Maverick, "You know what? I'm gonna make something I used to have sometimes before everything went completely bonkers for me. We just have to make some mouflon when cooked with the macaroni and cheese. I, I think I'm I think that's how I think that's how it was made, right? No, actually, yeah. After the food was cooked, Nick and Maverick went into the living room, and while eating, the phone rang and Maverick answered it, and after a few seconds of talking to whoever it was, said, "Nick, it's for you." Then Nick asked, "Who is it?" "It's Bryce. He wants to talk to you." Nick got up and went to the phone and put it up to the side of his head and said, "Hey Bryce, I'm assuming this is about me joining the police force?" "You're right on the nail, Nick. Would you be able to come down on Friday next week?" Bryce said. "Yes, I can. Wait, I just realized. Nobody's told me what day it is." Nick said. Then Maverick whispered into Nick's ears, "It's Monday, Nick. Just to focus, not tell you this, because it does on the one you gave me." Then Nick looked at Maverick and said, "Yeah, because I recalibrated the time settings on all of them the night I got here, except for mine." Then Bryce, still on the phone, said, "Well, I'll let you go so you little lovebirds can keep chirping about how you had a smooth brain moment." Then he hung up. Then Nick went back to the couch to eat, and Nick and Maverick turned the TV back on. After they finished eating, when there was a knock on the door, and Maverick went to check. When he came back, he said to Nick, "Well, Nick, seems you're very popular today." "What is it?" Nick asked. "Oh, just a letter from the Minister of Culture and Art addressed to one human named Nicholas McCone. Would you know who this person is?" "A very funny Maverick Maddock," Nick said jokingly. Then Maverick, confused, said, "How do you even know my last name? You haven't even met anyone from my family." Then Nick paused and said, I read the photo on the wall." Then Maverick said, "Okay, then. That makes some sense, but I guess I had it coming since I said your whole name." Then Maverick handed Nick the letter, and Nick opened it and read it. "To Nick, I would like to talk with you at some point this week to discuss how you're doing in our world. And also, on behalf of our government, we thank you for your handling of the Reza incident. You could drop by at any time. From Amra, Minister of Culture and Arts." "What was it?" Nick Maverick asked. Amra was saying how I should stop by at the ministry sometime this week, and also thanking me on how I handled the whole thing with Reza. Nick said. Some time went by, and at 10:30 p.m., Nick decided he would call tonight and went to sleep. When Nick woke up on his third day, not in a coma, Nick found that Maverick decided to wait directly on top of him and pried himself out from under him, got dressed, and went to the living room and waited. After checking the time, it was 9:23 a.m. when Maverick stumbled out of the bedroom, and Nick said, "I hope you know you sleep like a brick." "What do you mean I sleep like a brick? You're the brick sleeper," Maverick replied. "Did you not feel me pry myself out from under you?" Nick said. "Okay, you're right about that part, but I literally laid on top of you, and you didn't move an inch or react in any sort of way. Do you know how heavy dragons of my size are?" Maverick said. No, Nick said. Well, in short terms, very fucking heavy. Also, what are you doing today? Maverick said. Well, I guess I'm gonna go get groceries, then go to the ministry, then continue volunteering at the orphanage. Also, I recommend you write me a list so I don't forget anything. Then Maverick got a small piece of paper and a pencil and tried his best to write lists of items with his large paws and slid it towards Nick, and Nick grabbed it. Then Maverick said, well, better get to work. I'll see you later. Nick had to wait an hour because the store was closed. Then, when the store opened, he went outside. When he was opening the cockpit of his plane, climbing inside, when a dragon similar to Maverick, but blue, with pink stripes and webbing around her toes and frills, walked up and said, "So you must be Nick. I heard from Maverick and Bryce that you should be joining us at the department soon." So the dragon appeared to be female due to her voice, and Nick said, "So you must, so you've heard about me. You must be Naomi. You know, I hope I didn't complicate your report of the Reza case that much with the whole coma thing." "No, you didn't. I just need your whole side of the story, then I can add it to the report. Then it will be complete. Also, how did you know who I am if you haven't seen me?" Naomi said. "That's a whole story for another time that I might tell everyone later. But expect me to have a full account of my side of the Reza incident by tomorrow. What time should I drop it off?" Nick said. "Around lunchtime," Naomi said. "So, 12 o'clock. Okay. I'll get it to you tomorrow by then, if not earlier," Nick said. "Okay. Then guess I'll see you then, Nick," Naomi replied as she walked away. A few minutes later, Nick shut the cockpit of the aircraft. Then he started it up with a few button presses. A few seconds later, the roar of iron engines filled the air as other citizens stopped and watched as Nick's plane began to hover. Then it bolted forwards as Nick exited VTOL mode on his personal New Mordor Arms Company atmospheric space 176 Demobat fighter. Soon, Nick had reached the store and landed close by and went inside and was met by Zong, who said, "Oh, Nick, how are you doing this morning?" "Good, how are you, my friend?" Nick replied. "Good, now that I know. Good. Now, I know you're still new, and I see you have a list, so I'm guessing I'm going to need to help you locate and learn what some things are, if you don't know what they are," Zong said. After a few minutes of Nick and Zong walking through the store and getting items that were on the list, which Nick which Nick recognized, but were called different names, and some things alien to Nick. Finlay went to the register and Zong scanned the items from the cart and said, "Okay, Nick, this comes up to $35." Nick paused for a second in shock, then Zong broke silence. "Are you okay? You seem shocked." "Yes, I'm fine. It's just that I thought it would cost more than that," Nick replied. "Let me guess, the prices on everything went up after that pandemic in your world?" Zong asked. "Yep, that's one effect it had for sure." "Well, the fuck is... was I? Well, I guess I'll see you again Friday. Have a good rest of your day," Nick said as he began to walk out after paying. As he opened the door, he heard Song say, "Yeah, I guess I'll see you then. Also, have a safe flight." When Nick got back to his plane, he put the stuff he got in a storage bay and took off. When he got home, he put all the stuff he had gotten up. Then he decided he would go to the ministry. While walking to the ministry, Nick got a call on his focus from Anna. "Hey Anna, I assume you found a time for me to come in," Nick said. "Yes, would you be able to come in on Saturday?" Anna replied. "Yes, I can come in on that day," Nick said. "Well, good. Well, bye. I guess I'll see you then." "If not randomly by chance," Anna replied. "Okay, bye," Nick said as Anna hung up. When Nick got to the ministry, he found Emma outside, about to go inside from walking around outside. And Nick said, "Hey, Emma, how's the past 3 weeks been?" Then Emma said, "Hey Nick, how's it been the past 2 days?" As she opened, Emma said as she opened the door to the building and walked inside of Nick. "It's been good so far. I do miss some of the things from my world, though," Nick said as they were walking down the hallway to Emma's office. "Well, I assume that's natural, considering how long it's been," Emma said. Soon enough, they had reached her office and went inside and talked for a while. When Nick asked the question that had been on his mind since Sunday when he woke up from his coma. "So, how much do I owe the hospital for my free week stay? Considering you helped save us, along with humanity, and the fact that healthcare is free here." "No, I don't think you owe anything. Why do you ask?" Imra said. "Back in my world, you had to pay for it or have insurance, but I don't know or remember how that worked," Nick said. "Oh, well, I see how you'd be worried about that. Well, Nick, I should be getting back to work. As you know, being the Minister of Cultural Arts is a busy job, and I'm sure you have things to do," Emma said. "Yeah, I should probably get going. Well, I guess I'll speak to you some other time," Nick said as he got up and exited the room. Then Nick exited the ministry. He checked the time. It was 11:08 a.m. and Nick decided it was time to go to the orphanage. While he was walking to the orphanage, Nick heard the sound of ion engines and a dropship flew by, going towards the direction of Maverick's house. Maverick's in his house. Nick thought nothing of it, since he had requested the delivery of summer, fall, and winter clothes of clothing while waiting for the store to open. Then Nick continued walking. 20 minutes later, he had reached the orphanage, and 3 hours later, after he was done there, he went outside, and it was raining hard. And Nick did not want to walk, because even though he was immortal, he could adapt himself to any situation. From the amount of things he had been through, he really did not want to get sick. So he called his plane and went wait to land where he was to pick him up and fly home. And 2 minutes later, a dean working earlier, who he was working with earlier, came out and said, "Oh, Nick, you're still here. I have a question." "What's the question?" Nick asked. "Could you babysit Emily for me tomorrow? I have something to do," Adine said. "Yes, I can. Is she the small red-white runner?" Nick replied. "Yes. Wait, We haven't even seen her yet. How did Dean was interrupted by the roaring sound of iron engines as Nick's plane landed in the street. So, what time do I come and get her? Nick asked. Around 5 p.m., Dean said. Okay, guess I'll see you sometime this week, Nick said. Okay, bye, he heard Dean say as he walked to his plane in the warm, late summer rain and opened the canopy and climbed inside. Then, when he closed the canopy, the screens that acted like windows flashed to life, projecting the surroundings outside. Then, when the canopy closed, Nick took off and went home. When Nick got home, he noticed the dropship he saw earlier on the grass next to where his plane was landed. As he landed, when Nick exited his plane, he went to go unlock the door to the house. When he found the door unlocked, Nick thought to himself, "Strange. I locked the door when I left. But yet again, there is the dropship in the yard, so maybe I know someone. Someone I know is here, and they somehow unlocked the door." Nick opened the door and went inside, and walked into the living room, where he found a strange man sitting on the couch. "Hey! Who are you, and why are you in my house? Also, I'm assuming the one who parked a dropship in the yard," Nick said. Then the man said, then the man said, "Nick, it's me, Henry. I just got reconstruction done on my body so I don't look like a fucking burn victim." "Henry Creel, why the fuck did you not tell me this before you came here? Also, now I know why the door is unlocked. Why do you not even... Why... Yeah, wait. Why did you not... Why did you not lock the door?" Nick said, "I wanted to surprise you. Also, I brought the stuff you requested from multiple other universes." "So, how's your time been here so far?" Henry said. "Good, besides what happened 3 weeks ago. I'd say it's been good. I have a home, a boyfriend who's getting off work in an hour, and how's it been for you the past 5 years?" Nick said. "Well, 11 and everyone else don't really hate me anymore, and are wondering whether you were right about the whole ending the world thing or not. Oh, and an update on your ship. It's being repowered and repaired." After 20 more minutes of conversation, Henry left, and Nick quickly made a detailed report of his side of the resident incident, then took a nap. When Nick woke up, he took the 2 letters he had received while he was in a coma, and when he went to the living room where he sat down on the couch and checked the time, it was 5:20 p.m. After checking the time, he decided to read the first letter in the stack. "To ex-Ambassador Nick, we thank you for saving us from the fate that awaited us if we had stayed in our city. We apologize to you about Rez's actions and any inconvenience that they may have caused you. And we wish to know how we can repay you for what you did, from the citizens and the leaders of the human city you saved." Nick put the letter on the table next to the couch. Then the front door opened and Maverick walked into the house. And when he saw Nick, he said, "Hey babe, what are you doing?" "I'm reading the 2 letters I got while I was out. This first one was a thank you and apology letter from the people of the human city. And I haven't read the second one yet. How was your day, Mavi?" Then Nick said, Nick said. Good. Good. Nothing really happened at work today besides someone freaked out on someone over something small and inconsequential. How was your day, Nick? Maverick said. Good. I met Naomi, went to the ministry, did stuff at the orphanage, learned I'm going to get studied by Anna on Saturday. Then tomorrow I'm babysitting a kid from the orphanage. Nick said. Oh, you met my ex. To be honest, I'm not surprised that she would want to run tests on humans now that she does not have cancer. But I still wonder why she never told anyone she knew, Nick said as he laid down on the couch next to Nick as Nick grabbed the second letter and opened it. You know what? That's a good point. I never understood why she never told anyone, Nick said. After Nick and Maverick After Maverick and Nick had stopped talking, Nick read the what? Oh my god, the punk texted me! Ah! Anyways, after that very pleasant interruption, where was I? Ah, there I were. To Nick, you should. What? Nick read the letter. To Nick, you should probably be more careful of your personal photos, as after you guys were teleported, I found your family photo next to the portal. I probably shouldn't have, as you must have had a reason to leave it behind. But when we arrived in the Dragon's World, I requested to see you and found out you were in the hospital. And I put this letter and the photo next to you for if you wake up. Get better soon, our new leader. From Portal Operation Operator Timothy Hopkins. Nick put the letter down and said, well, that was nice of him to keep the photo safe, but it was supposed to stay there as a sign that I would not return. But, hey, oh well. Can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, eh? Then, after a few more minutes of talking, Maverick turned to Nick and said, Bryce knew she'll want to know if we want to go eat with him. Do you want to? Sure. Besides, I've ordered some more focuses earlier, and I have them in this box. And I need to give them to them both. Where are we going? And when do we need to be there? Nick said. I knew you would say yes to this. We're going to a steak restaurant and we need to be there in an hour, Maverick said. 45 minutes later, Nick and Maverick left to go to the restaurant. Well, Nick was the one who said they had to leave right at that moment, but we don't talk about that, okay? Just don't mention that, like, at all. Once Nick wrote, Once again, Nick rode on Maverick's back, since he did not want to disturb the dragons next door with the sounds of ion engines at this time in the evening, because at this point, they're probably sick of it. Once at the restaurant, they waited 10 minutes for the slowpokes that can't fly to show up. Then, Bryce and Ushio showed up, and Nick and Maverick already had a table for them. And after they ordered their food, Nick pulled out the box with the two focuses and said, Here, you guys. These will allow you to communicate and investigate things. Basically, like cell phones, if you guys had those in your world, Ushio. Did you guys have those? Yes, we did, but it seems like you dragons are still trying to figure that out. Wait, Nick said. This this is where Nick said is. Yes, we did, but It seems like you guys, Sea Dragons, are still trying to figure that out. And thanks, me and Bryce will be sure to make good use of them, Ushio said. Maverick and Bryce had also been talking to each other this whole time, while going in between conversation of Nick and Ushio. And after they finished eating and paid, they said goodbye when Bryce jokingly said, "Okay, you two, I'll see you guys later, but don't you guys have too much fun." "Oh, fuck you, man," Maverick replied in the same joking manner. Then everyone began to go home. While flying back home on Maverick's back, Nick said to Maverick, I think I made an impact on you. You're less grumpy than you were 5 weeks ago. I could say the same for you. You're less on edge. You seem way more happier than you were. But one thing I notice is it feels like you always knew something we didn't. But I brushed it off 2 days before the last night of the festival, Maverick replied. Then, when they arrived above their street, Maverick looked back at Nick and said, "Shall we?" "Go for it," Nick replied. Nick clung onto Maverick's back tighter as Maverick went into a nosedive and quickly pulled up, was close enough to the ground, and landed. And as Nick and Maverick walked towards their door, Maverick said, "I know you'd like that. And look, you didn't even scream or fall." "Yeah, well, yeah, and I know that you're going to like it when I cuddle with you later, you big goofball," Nick said. "Yeah, I can't help it. You're soft and cuddleable," Maverick said as he opened the door of his clawed front foot. After they entered the house and turned on the TV, they watched a TV show about a family that was supposed to be human, but you could obviously tell it was dragons in rubber suits like the original Godzilla suits. The time was 9 p.m. and Nick was starting to get tired, so he leaned on the Maverick, who was laying on the couch. Because he can't sit, because he can't sit on it like a human, because whole, because 4 legs and a tail with wings thing. Maverick spread his wings and tail over Nick. After Nick was in a comfortable position, and said, "You comfortable there, Nick?" "Yes, I'm so comfortable. I'm going to notice when you get up," Nick said, as he began to close his eyes. After a few minutes, Nick began to drift off. When he heard Maverick say softly into his ear, "Good night, Nick. I'll see you in the morning." Then, then he kissed Maverick on the forehead. Then, then he kissed Maverick on the forehead. Then laid his head down and fell asleep. Nick was awoken in the morning when Maverick moved to get up and started for the day. And Nick also started getting ready for the day. The time was 10:29 a.m. when Nick exited the door and began walking to the police station with his report on his side of the resident incident. When Nick got to the police station, he walked to, up to the front desk where a runner dragon with a police hat was sitting and asked, "Excuse me, do you know where Naomi's office is? I have something important to give her." "Go up the staircase and you'll be in a hallway. Once in the hallway, take a left and it'll be the fourth door on the right," the dragon said. "Thanks," Nick said. "You're welcome," the dragon said. Nick followed the dragon's instructions and had reached Naomi's office and knocked on the door. And Nick heard Naomi say, "Come in!" Nick opened the door and stepped inside and said, "Hey, Naomi, here's the incident report for you." "Oh, thank you. I knew you could get it in on time. I'll have to process it now, so I won't have any time to talk, unfortunately. So I guess I'll talk to you later," Naomi said. "Okay, talk to you later, Naomi," Nick said before he walked out the door. When Nick walked out of the door, he exited the police station and checked the time. It was 10:59, and Nick decided to take the rest of the day until 4:50 p.m. when he would have to go get Amoy the dragon he was babysitting from the orphanage. So for the rest of the day, until Nick found out there was a new variant of his plane with a cloaking device, and a new device that allowed the plane to be deploying in stealth mode to not emit noise or heat, and quickly got his plane switched out with a new one, which only took an hour. And for the rest of the day, Nick relaxed. When it, when Nick went to pick up Amoy, he tested the noise dampener when he got a call from Maverick and answered. "Hey Maverick, I assume you just got off and wanted to tell me." "Yes, I did. Also, I have a question," Maverick replied. "Ask away, my handsome dragon boyfriend," Nick said. Maverick stumbled on his words for a few seconds and said, "Have you tried the ice cream in this world yet? Also, stop. Just stop. You're making me blush. Come on." "No. Well, I'll see you in a few minutes, Mavy Tavy," Nick said. "Okay, Nickel Carbon. Love you, bye." "Love you. Bye," Maverick said as he hung up the phone. Hung up, and Nick had to think about Maverick's joke for a few seconds. Then he got it. "Really? NIC? That's my joke to make." When Nick got to the orphanage, he found Adine and Emily waiting outside. Adine handed Emily to Nick after he opened the cockpit and said to Emily as he took off, "Hey, Emily. Please don't touch any buttons you don't know the use of." Then Emily said as she looked out the screens that acted as windows, "No touch. Okay. Also, can we do a roll?" "Sure thing. Just hold on to something," Nick said. A few seconds later, after Emily held on to Nick's arm, Nick jerked at the controls and the plane quickly turned over, and Nick held upside down for a second, then returned to normal. When Nick got home and he landed, he brought Emily inside and was met by Maverick saying, "Did you get the net? Get the bip bip bip?" That's staying in. I'm not cutting anything out. Maverick, I don't know how to. Okay, continue. "Did you get the joke, Nick?" "Yes, I did." "Stop showing my jokes, you big gray punk," Nick said. "Oh, and who's the special guest here?" Maverick asked. "Fuck. This is Emily, and she is staying here until 7 o'clock, until Aunt Dean needs to take her back. Also, we should all try to find out what's for dinner tonight," Nick said. "Pizza!" Dean shouted. "That's fine with me. What about you, Nick?" Maverick said. "I know it's Wednesday, but sure, we could get pizza." Maverick, you can order that. I'm going to try to figure out what sort of game or activity we could do while we wait," Nick said. While Nick and Maverick was ordering pizza, Nick and Emily were trying to find out what game to play. "So, do you have any ideas?" Nick asked. We can play hunt, Emily said. What's hunt? Nick asked. It's where one person has to find the other person. People that are playing, Emily said. So, hide and seek. Got it. A few minutes later, Maverick returned and said, Okay, food will be here in 38 minutes. What are we doing? Hunt, or as we humans call it, hide and seek, Nick said. Oh, I love this game. I was good at it as a kid, Maverick said. Then I guess you won't mind being secret then. Also, inbounds are the front yard, in the house, and the backyard, Nick said. Okay, then I guess it's to start counting. So, you guys, you have 120 seconds to hide. Nick and Emily ran in different directions as Maverick closed his eyes and started counting. Nick had an idea. He would stop his body's production of heat, cover up his scent, then activate his personal cloaking device, and shadow Maverick. The idea was stupid, but Nick knew from experience that stupid sometimes worked in his favor. After Maverick had counted, Nick watched as he began to search the house. After a few minutes, Maverick found Emily hiding in a closet. Maverick went to the front yard where Nick watched him open the cockpit to his plane and say, Damn, I thought he'd be in here. Then Nick uncloaked and said, But I am here. You punk. You gray punk. Well, looks like I found our winner. Well, let's get back inside, Maverick said. Once back inside, they all waited for 20 minutes for the pizza to arrive. After eating, Nick Maverick asked Nick, Tell me, is this better or worse than pizza back home? Maverick, I don't even remember what food was like anymore. That was thousands of years ago, so I don't think I can answer that. Also, I think Emily's asleep. Nick looked over to the other side of the couch to see Emily sleeping peacefully. About 2 hours later, Dean came to take Emily back. Nick and Maverick just chilled for a while until Maverick said, Wait here, I have to go get something from the freezer that you're gonna like. Okay, so now you've caught my attention. For the 100th time today, Nick said. A few seconds later, Maverick came back with a container bouncing on his head. That looks familiar. Well, now I know why you asked if I have tried. Now I know why you asked if I had tried dragon ice cream before. Yet, Nick said. Maverick put his head down, then slid the container onto the table and said, Here's our dessert. Feel free to tell me what you think about it. You know what? I will give feedback regardless, as always, on to how I feel about stuff. You're right. Nick asked. Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you reassurance that you can, in fact, do that. Maverick said as he handed Nick an object akin to a spoon and opened the container. Then Maverick went back into the kitchen to grab his own container. When Maverick returned, Nick opened his container and tried the ice cream. And to his surprise, he found it was chocolate chip cookie dough, which was his favorite. Nick turned to Maverick, who was now eating his ice cream, and said, Wow, you managed to get my favorite type of ice cream on the first try. And I think it's better than back home. Glad you like it, but you do realize you copied the data from your focus to the one you gave me. I found the things that you like and don't like while you're in a coma. Maverick said, I forgot that about that. I guess you saw what my original plan was then. Yeah, I forgot about that. And I guess you saw what my original plan was then, Nick said. Yeah, I guess the night you arrived, my very presence had to make you improvise and adapt to the situation, Maverick said. Yeah, I was not expecting you to be there, but hey, it worked, and I have a big gray wuss now, so I'd say it double worked. Nick said. A few hours later, Nick decided to go to sleep and fell asleep lying on his stomach with his head on a pillow. When a few minutes later, he was awoken by Maverick saying, "Hey, you comfortable like that?" "Yeah," Nick replied. "I could tell. I found you like that multiple times like that during the Resin incident when you were sleeping on the couch. I assume that's the most effective way for you to fall asleep. And if you don't mind, I'm going to cuddle you again," Maverick said. "Go right ahead," Nick said. Maverick laid on the bed, then snuggled up with Nick, and then they both fell asleep. The next 2 days went by like normal, and it was now time for Saturday, and Nick had to go to the production facility to go see Anna to be studied. After that, after that was done, Nick decided to spend some time at the beach, considering it he had only been once so far, and it was the beginning of fall. As Nick would see on a newspaper earlier, the date was September 23rd, 1761. After staying at the beach for a few hours, he went home and was met by Maverick when he had an idea. "So, Maverick, you showed me some Dragon TV shows and a movie," Nick said. "Yes, I have, and I know you like what you've watched. What are you trying to get at?" Maverick said. "Do you want to go to watch a movie?" Nick said. "Sure, where are we going?" Maverick asked. "Out of universe," Nick said. "Okay, this sounds interesting. I guess you're going to have to get ready," Maverick said. "And call us some transport to get there." An hour later, Nick and Maverick were ready, and a dropship landed in the yard, and they boarded. Once the door closed and sealed shut, Nick noticed that Maverick was shaking. Are you okay over there, Mavers?" Nick asked. "Yeah, I'm just kind of nervous," Maverick said. "You're gonna be fine. If my fighter can fly into space like I did yesterday, then we could do it in this dropship, okay?" Nick said. "Okay," Maverick said. After Maverick and Nick strapped into his seat, Nick told the pilot to take them up to the ship. Once out of the atmosphere, Maverick looked out the window and said, "Damn, that's beautiful. To think our town is just a small speck on this planet blows my mind. And Dragonkind has not expanded to the other continents yet, considering your guys' technology," Nick said. After a few more minutes, they had arrived at the ship in high Earth orbit, and Nick and Maverick looked out the left window and stood up, and after a few seconds, Nick said, "Welcome to the Numadorian Space Navy vessel Ushio, second ship in the Maverick line of dreadnoughts, with a crew of 1 million men and women." "Wait, how many of these does the Navy have?" Maverick asked. "Right now, we have about two operational. This one, an NMSNV Bryce, one under repair, my flagship, the Maverick, and then we have one under construction as we speak that will be done by January 5th. That is currently unnamed," Nick said. Wow, so next year you'll have 4 of these. A minute later, they had arrived in the right hangar bay of the ship and headed to the bridge. Along the way, crew members would move aside as to not get in the way of him. Once they got to the bridge, someone said, "Captain, we have a leader and his boyfriend on deck." The captain would turn around, and Nick and her would salute each other. Then the captain would speak up and ask, "What's our heading, sir?" SCP Universe, Nick said. The captain would go to a console in the middle of a room and select the correct universe. Then the ship's onboard AI on the, would come on the intercom and say, "Attention, all personnel. We're jumping in 3 minutes and are locking down all doors and sealing the hangars. Please get ready for the jump at your earliest convenience." 3 minutes later, the AI would start a countdown to jumping in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as soon as the countdown was finished, there was a rumble, and then the ship would be traveling through a tunnel of colors and lights. Then a few seconds later, there was a flash. Then Earth would pop into view, as well as a large spaceport with other ships and crafts flying around. Some bearing the crimson eye of New Mordor, others with the symbol of the SCP Foundation, and some without any symbols at all. After the ship had docked at the starport, Nick and Maverick went to the surface and watched the movie Midway from 2019. After they were finished, they went back to the ship and jumped home. As they were flying home in a dropship during re-entry, Nick asked Maverick, "So, how was the movie?" "I thought it was interesting to see what happened in your in their world's history, but now I must ask, why are your species so fucking violent?" Maverick said, "Out of all things I could ever explain to you, that's the one thing I will never understand," Nick said. "Well, it does not matter anyways. Looks like we're almost home," Maverick said. Nick looked out the window to see the lights of their town and checked the time to see it was 8:48 p.m. And once they were dropped off, they could feel the cool early fall air and hear the insects that were outside. Once they were inside, Maverick kissed Nick and decided to call it a night, before leaving Nick to read a random book until he got tired, then snuggled up to Maverick a few hours later. So, this was Chapter 5, Act 2. Next audiobook thing will be Act 3 of Chapter 5. Zaitin. See y'all whenever I get around to recording that, because it might be a while. And then after that, I'll be done with the audiobook series for a while until I am. Maybe once I completely finish Chapter 5, then start with Chapter 6. Yeah, that's probably when I'll start the audiobook series up again. Well, I guess I'm just dragging out. So, Zaijin for real. Goodbye. See y'all in the next episode of whatever the hell I do next.